What I really like people to understand is that the quality of your life is the quality of your emotions. If you have $1 billion and every day your habitual emotions are feeling frustrated and stressed and overwhelmed, your life is called frustrated, stressed, and overwhelmed. If you have 3 beautiful children and a great husband or wife or boyfriend or girlfriend, and every day you worry, your life is not love, your life is worry. It doesn't matter how you have this beautiful family. So think of it, emotions control the quality of our life because your mental emotional state is the single most important ingredient to not only success, but fulfillment. And most of us do not know how to manage it. And when I say manage it, I'm really talking about your mind and your emotions, right? Those are the 2 things that if you can master those, because most people are trying to master the outside world, and you can't control the outside world. You can influence it. But the one thing you can control is how you use your mind, what you do with your emotions. When you're upset with someone, do you ever notice how you can now remember everything that they've ever done that ever upset you, right? Yes. But when you're in love, what's wrong with life? What's wrong with anything? When you're in love, we have no money. Who cares? We're in love, right? Yeah. So your emotional state controls the story you have about your life, and then your story determines whether you find a strategy, or even if you know the strategy, whether you really do it or not. See, the reason a person's making progress, they may not know what to do. Sometimes that's true. But some people know what to do and they don't do what they know. That's most people. Yes. And so why? They have a story that says, it's a set of beliefs they tell themselves over and again. I've tried everything. What they're really telling me is I have a story that says I should try this, but it's really not gonna work. So I give it a half-weird attempt and it didn't work, and now I can tell people I tried. What you really gotta do is learn to change your emotion, your state, change your story, and then you can find the strategy or you can make the strategy to work. Warren Buffett says you're not gonna beat the index fund. So why would you pay for it? Check this number out. If you're listening, you gotta watch and listen. Over any 10-year period of time, 96% of all mutual funds don't match the market that you could have got for next to nothing. By the way, he bet a group of hedge fund guys 5 years ago, protege partners, he said, you pick a group of hedge funds, pick the top 5 you want. Hedge funds, this is what the wealthy people invest in. And I'll beat you with the index, I bet you $1 million. And right now, it's not yet done. I think there's 4 more years left, but he's up like 20%, 25% above it. I believe that leadership is really a skill of influence. It is the most important skill that any human being can master. And I don't think of leadership as a position. I see it as a skill, a tool that all of us have to have. In other words, the quality of your life, I really believe, comes down to your level of leadership. Other people don't have to follow you to be a leader, but you have to live life on your terms. And the first person you have to influence is yourself. So I think to be able to influence the thoughts, the feelings, the emotions, and the actions of another human being, that's what leadership is. And quality leadership, obviously authentic leadership, is one where it's servant leadership. You're looking to influence those thoughts, feelings, emotions, and actions for a greater good, not just for yourself. And I think the people that master that are the people that you know about. I mean, they're captains of industry. They're people that are celebrities because they learned how to influence people. They are some of the greatest teachers, some of the greatest scientists, because you can't just come up with ideas. Ideas will die on your lips unless you become a person of influence, and that's what leadership is. The human brain is a distortion, deletion, and generalization device. Your conscious mind can only handle so many things at once. You're not thinking about your clothing touching your skin or the sound of your heartbeat till I mention it, or let's say the sound of in your ear of being able to hear that heartbeat. All those things I have to call your attention to because your brain is deleting most of what's going on so it's not overwhelmed consciously. So we pay attention to a small amount of things. So if you're really happy, you're deleting all the things that could piss you off or make you worried. If you're really worried, you're deleting all the things you could be grateful or happy about. And we tend to generalize our lives because we're cognitive misers. We don't want to think things through. There's 3 Ps that you got to annihilate, crush, or destroy if they're getting in the way of your progress in a relationship or your career or your happiness or your health. These are the 3 Ps that make learned helplessness. Number 1, you think the problem is permanent. Once you've had enough disappointment, sometimes your brain doesn't want to get disappointed, so it's a permanent problem. Please write down, no problem is permanent, only your soul is permanent. Nothing's forever. Everything changes, everything eventually ends, and something new begins. That's part of life. Those are the seasons of life. The second P that keeps people in learned helplessness so they don't change, this belief's got to be annihilated, broken through, and that it's pervasive. That means that because my relationship's not great, my whole life is horrible. Then you're forgetting you do have health, or you do have friends, or you do have a job, or you do have whatever. I can breathe. And the third one is we think the problem is personal. There's something wrong with me. And if you start believing that, it becomes self-fulfilling. You give up. See, I'm not good enough. I'm not beautiful enough. I'm not smart enough. I always screw it up. So those 3 Ps got to be destroyed. We're emotional creatures. And we forget that because we live in a society that tries to value thought much more than emotion, because emotion is scary for us. Emotion can come really fast. And so some people try to avoid it at all costs, other people overwhelmed by it. My view is that emotional intelligence is a wonderful thing, but I much prefer emotional fitness. Intelligence is a capability. Fitness is a state of readiness. And what I do is I train myself to always be ready, and that makes you execute. And I think too many people settle for, I know this, as opposed to I'm doing this. And I try to train myself and others to be in that state of readiness all the time, because that's where life is really fulfilled at the highest level, I think. There's a gentleman named Theodore Johnson who is amazing. He worked for UPS, started as a driver, never made more than $14,000 total in a year. That was his highest salary in a year. In his old age, he's worth $70 million. And how did he do it? All he did was, what I teach is the first step is you gotta take a percentage of what you earn and pretend it's a tax. You're never gonna see that money again. You automate it, it goes straight to the investment account, and you never see it as money you can spend. He did that with 20%. He said, I can't save 5. Somebody in his family said, if there was a tax, you'd pay it, and they made it 20%. When you save 20% and you compound it, its numbers are incredible. So you can't wait till you have a ton of money to start investing and think, I'm not an investor. What you gotta do is say, rather than my Apple phone, let me own Apple stock. Let me own a piece of all the best companies, not just Apple. I've gotta become an owner, or I'll always be in scarcity. If you can invest in business, even a small amount, you can grow. I don't care how small it is, but you gotta automate it. My whole thing is leaders anticipate, losers react. If you can anticipate what's coming, you can really take advantage. If you wait till it hits you, you're in trouble. Good times create weak people. Weak people create bad times. Bad times create strong people. Strong people create good times. What if you're born in 1910? World War I ends, the world looks like it's a great place, new technology, cars, radio, and then what happens? An explosion of abundance, the roaring 20s, and so you're a kid, you're 14, 15 years old, and you're like, I can't wait to get a car to go. But what happened when that person hit the next stage of life at 19, 20, 21 years old? As they came of age, it's 1929. And suddenly, people are jumping out of buildings, total depression, Dust Bowl, nobody's got jobs. It looks horrific, and it was horrific. But did they get a break? No, when they turned 29, it's 1939. It looked like the whole world was gonna end. Hitler was sweeping across Europe, bombing London. It literally looked like the world as we know it was over. This is what gives me great optimism for everyone watching here. Winter's not forever. No pandemic lives forever. Everything changes and everything ends. And the good news about winter is it's always followed by springtime. What follows the night? The daytime. What a cool way to set it up if you were God or the universe. The first thing I do every single morning is I go in freezing cold water. And when you jump in, it never feels good to go in, but getting out, you feel incredible. But I do it for a different reason. I do it to train my brain to say, when I say now, it means now. When I say go, we go. I don't stand there because it's cold and go, maybe in a minute when I'm ready. But I always do it because I've trained my brain, this is how we work. And if you train your brain to do that every single day, then it'll do it on the more difficult and important things in life.